What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see by the title, today your girl is finally gonna get into the collection slash the clutter that everybody was waiting for, and that is my eyeshadow palettes. Now I will say, as always, that I try to showcase every last palette that I can find. Sometimes things are just hiding from me in the midst of me filming these videos, so I may not show all of my collection, but I show 99.9% of my collection. And in this video, I am going to showcase only the palettes that I have officially reviewed. So if you know of a palette that I have not reviewed thus yet, I won't be showing it, such as the Prados Beauty and my DD Signature palettes that I'm still in the midst of reviewing. But otherwise, every last palette, otherwise, as long as it had 2 shadows or more, will be in this video for you guys to see, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. I'm very interested to see how well I do. I feel like there are definitely a lot of collections this year that I've done really good at just getting rid of things that I'm not using, that I don't need, so I can share the wealth. There's so many people around me that can use these products that I'm not using, or they're old and they're expired and nobody needs to have them. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm gonna stop talking so we can get into it, because I know this is gonna be a long one. Make sure to grab a snack and a drink, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay guys, so it is finally the eyeshadow palette collection and declutter video time, and I'm just gonna dive on in because I know this is going to be a very long video. If you don't already have a snack, a drink, or something, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and get it. Now, for what's on the desk, Odin's Eye is a brand that I really enjoy having, and I do have quite the collection. I typically do swatch and comparison videos, but this year I actually think I'm going to be decluttering a few of them. Regardless, this is their Christmas Eve palette from 2022, and I am going to go ahead and keep this. Another keep is one that I have raved about here on my channel, and this is the Huda Beauty Matte Obsessions. This is the warm variety of it. I really like this. This is a very easy get up and go type palette for me, so definitely keep it. Another palette that I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep, I just got it this year, is the Lauren Mae Beauty and Odin's Eye Sea Talk palette. It's a beautiful combination of colors and I really enjoy it. I also think I'm going to go ahead and keep the Flora, which is the Makeup Just for Fun collaboration with Odin's Eye. And then last in that collection is this one, which is with Baddie Bean, or I think she changed, no, Baddie Bean is the new name, and that is the Planet Spirit palette. So I'm going to keep all 3 of the palettes in that collection. Then we have another collection that I have on this desk from Odin's Eye. This happens to be their Stone and Rock palette. I actually do like this palette, and I think for now I'm going to go ahead and keep it at least for another year. And same goes for the Jewels one. With this is the Jewels and Gem from Odin's Eye. Okay, another brand that I tend to collect quite a bit is Glam and Natrix Cosmetics. This is their You Beauty palette, and this is an older palette. I believe they no longer stock this palette, but I do like it. I picked it up purposely, so I am going to keep it for at least a couple more years. This is the Unearthly The Weirdos palette. This is one that I picked up last Halloween season, and I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I don't really reach for it, so I am actually going to go ahead and declutter this one. Let's see. This is a Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. This is a palette that I decided to pick up last holiday season because it went on 50% off, and a lot of people were really raving about the formula in this palette. And although I think the formula is really good, I definitely can see this being more useful and more used in a friend's collection, so I'm gonna declutter this one as well. Okay, this is a new brand to me this year. This is Game Beauty. I think this is a really solid formula, pigmented, blendable, all of that. I do like this color scheme, so I am gonna go ahead and keep it. And likewise with this one, by the way, this one is called the Geo palette, and this one is called the Dendra palette. I like this one as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. I have two palettes from Adept here on the desk. This is the Amunet palette, and although this is definitely not my color scheme, I want to continue to keep my Adept Cosmetics collection intact. So I am going to go ahead and keep this. And same goes for the Ninhydrin. This is another one that really is not my preferred color scheme, but I do want to keep the brand's collection intact that I have. And then the last one here on the desk right now is from M2U NYC. This is a brand that actually sent this product to me in PR. I think that this is fantastic quality, really great palette. I don't know, I think I might declutter this one. It's great, do not get me wrong by any means, but I don't see this being reached for on top of like other palettes that I picked up that I just like the color scheme just a tinge bit more. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, I think I'm gonna declutter this one. All right, so quite a few Pat McGraths here. Yeah, let's go through some of the other ones because the packaging is still on it. This is my Sydney Grace and Tim Talia palette. I only got one, and this is the On the Horizon, the dark version. I actually really like this palette. I love the quality of Sydney Grace. Definitely keeping. Another Adept palette is this one. This is the Minka palette. Once again, not my preferred color scheme, but I really do like Adept's quality. And once again, I want to keep the formulation intact, or the collection that I bought intact. Another Nomad, this is their Harajuku palette. This was a palette that I was somewhat obsessed with at one point. It's quite old, and I've really not reached for it or thought about it in quite some years. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and let this one go. Another older palette in my collection is this. This is the Viseart Liaison palette, and if I can get this little cover off. At one point I wore cooler toned purples a lot. I definitely don't reach for them. I haven't thought about this palette in years. Haven't reached for it in years. So this is another declutter. Okay, so this is going to be a hard one because it's Pat McGrath, but let's get into it. So this is a quad from her. This is the Celestial Divine Luxe quad. This is a quad that I actually get quite a bit of use out of. I've used this as more or less a face palette. I've also used this as a single eyeshadow. I actually really like this quad. I haven't used it in a while, but I still have very good memory, so I am going to keep this one. This is a limited edition palette quite a few Christmases ago. This is very cool toned, very dark. No use has really been given and used for this for years. I've just kept it because it's Pat McGrath, but she already got my money. She doesn't need to keep my space in my collection for a longer period than she already has. So this is being decluttered. These two though, I think I actually am gonna keep. Like I said, I don't reach for my Pat McGrath a lot, but there's something to when I do, I really enjoy the formulas. So this is the Subversive 3 fantastic formula. I really like the color scheme here. This really calls to my neutral lover, especially right now. And these four over here, specifically this one, fantastic. I used to use this actually as a highlighter. This one is the Divine Rose 2 palette. Once again, I really love the formula. I really love the quality in this palette. So I am going to go ahead and keep this one as well. Okay, so moving forward, this is one that actually one of you guys got for me. This is the Jackie Aina and ABH palette. Although I don't think that this quality really matches their current quality, I love the color scheme here and I got so much use out of it. I think I want to continue to get so much more. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. This is a newer one to my collection. This is the Patrick Ta what does he call these? Dimension Volume 1 palette. I really like the quality here, so I am going to keep finding another declutter. This is the Nabla Dreamy palette. I have kept this because of certain memories and certain shades that I really, really like in this palette, but in the grand scheme of things, I haven't touched this in years. Another one that I realized has just got to go is this Muerte palette from Melt Cosmetics. I lusted after this palette for years. Well, not years, maybe like a 2 or 3 years, whatever. And when I got it, I just didn't like the quality. This is just too much for me. I don't like it. This has got to go. Okay, this is one that I believe a friend picked up for me. This is the Violet Voss Sunflower palette. This is a really cute little short condensed color scheme. I really like this color scheme. I like the quality. I have no idea if Violet Voss is still a brand, but I really like. Let's see. Okay, this is another Odin's Eye palette, and this is their Oud palette. I have not reached for this in quite some time, and although I do like to do kind of swatches of all of the palettes that I have compared to the new palettes that I pick up, this is one that I'm going to get rid of. I don't need to keep this, so this has got to go. The Nomad Cosmetic Hudson Valley palette. Out of all of their palettes, this is the one that has really screamed to me color scheme wise. So I think I'm gonna actually keep this for maybe a year longer. Like, this is just the color scheme that I would love from the brand. And they've already done it and I've already bought it. So I think I'm gonna keep it. I don't particularly love the shimmers though. So yeah. Let's see. So this is a Caladios Futurism palette. This is no longer available. They discontinued this, but I actually still like this. I like how condensed and small this bright color scheme is, and these are neon. So I am going to keep this, and I'm actually going to go ahead and keep the lavender one as well. I actually really, really like this one. Really great quality, and this is about as much kind of cooler toned purples that I need in my collection, and that's newer than the Viseart. Then we have this Pat McGrath Bridgerton palette, and there's just something about these smaller palettes from her that I just don't find the quality to be as good, but I still want to keep this for a little bit longer, so I'm going to. This is the Caladios Flower Punk palette. Definitely some positives in this palette. I like certain parts of the color scheme here. This wasn't my favorite loved matte formula. The mattes were kind of hit and miss, but I'm going to keep this for one more year. And this is one of my favorite palettes from Caladios. This is their collaboration with Angelica Nyquist, and this is the, what is it called? Club Nebula palette. I actually really like this color scheme, so I'm going to keep this one as well. Okay, with this stack, we will be done with one bin of products that I have from my eyeshadow collection. This is a very, very old palette. This is the Sassy Siennas from Dose of Colors. Although I think the quality here is great and I've gotten use out of it, I have not looked for this. And like I said, it's old. So this is going to go. Another one that is going to go is this Norns palette from Odin's Eye. I definitely think that with potentially their newer formula, I would like this better, but I just don't need this. So this is going to go. Let's do another old one. This is my Viseart Dark Matte palette. This is super old. I bought this from a third party off of Poshmark, so I don't even know truly how old this is. This has just got to be thrown away this year. This is another palette that a friend picked up for me. This is the Gingerbread Spice palette from Too Faced. I actually really like this palette. I like the quality, all of it, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. This is, if you asked me, one of my favorite palettes from Odin's Eye. I love the quality in the mattes in this palette, so I'm definitely keeping this one. Another one I'm definitely keeping is this Merry Christmas palette from Odin's Eye. This is from their 2022 collection. I really like this one. Definitely keep it. This is another collaboration that they've done with Angelica Nyquist. This is the Hella palette. Really pretty kind of green neutral tones for me. I reach for greens and any kind of earthy tones as a neutral, so I really like this palette. Definitely keeping. We have this Unearthly palette. This is the Into the Dark one. This is just not for me. It's just not for me at all. I do know that the brand has now released this in, I believe, smaller pans, which I definitely think is smart, but I just didn't prefer this color scheme, so this has got to go. Two from Odin's Eye, that these are both in the same collection. So this is their Giant Wolves palette, which they did as a collaboration with Annette's Makeup Corner. I think I'm going to keep this for a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm going to keep this for a little bit longer. And with that, I will also keep the Hummingbird palette, which is their collaboration with Tina or the Fancy Face. Okay, continuing on, the Heather Austin and Adept Cosmetics collaboration palette was my intro to Adept Cosmetics, and I've loved the brand since. I love this palette. Definitely keeping. Let's see. So this is the Cosmic Brushes Muse palette. I really think that this is a beautiful palette, so I'm definitely keeping this one. And same with their Delicious Delights palette. Now these are some of my older palettes. I'm sure you guys can tell. One that is definitely older for me is the Nomad Cosmetics Lago di Como palette, and I think it's time for this one to finally leave my collection. As well as this one. This is so beautiful. I loved this palette. This is the Paulina and Blush Tribe collaboration. They're no longer a brand at Blush Tribe, that is. And I have these colors in other palettes, so I think I'm gonna finally let this go. Another one, I think it's time, is this Nomad Cosmetics Iceland palette. It's time to say goodbye. Okay, two that I'm definitely keeping are the Sumerian Sunset palette from Adept Cosmetics and the Inspired palette from Adept Cosmetics. Now this one is a very old love of mine, very old love affair. And you know, I think it's time for this one to go as well. I think it's time. Wow, this is gonna go. This is gonna go. Okay, keeping it going. This was actually something that was gifted to me this year from a friend. Fantastic quality here. And because I'm so into neutrals, I'm going to keep this one. This is another friend purchased palette. This is from Violet Voss. This is their Coral Crush palette. I really love this one. Keeping. Another palette from Blush Tribe, and I think I'm gonna let this one go as well. This is their Fall Fusion palette. This is a palette I used to reach for on my birthday, which is coming up very soon, but I haven't reached for this in years, so this has got to go. Great quality though. Let's see. This is a brand, Midas Cosmetics. They went away and then they came back under another name, which I can't distinctly remember right now. Regardless, although I think this is good quality, I don't need it, so I'm gonna let it go. This is from Sigil Inspired. the mattes really aren't dark enough for me. The shimmers are fine, but I just think that for me, this brand is overhyped. So I'm gonna let this go. This is a favorite palette of mine. This is from Shroud and Batty Bean. This is, I believe, her first collaboration. Really, really pretty keeping. This is one of my quads from Caladios. This is in Flowing Haze. This is very much a neutral Nelly. I do like this, so I'm going to keep it. Let's see. Okay. This is an old palette. This has been panned and all. I really loved this palette. This was from Love Luxe Beauty in the shade, or in the colorway Foiled Rose. I think I'm gonna let this one go though. Okay, 4 palettes left to figure out their fate. This is actually singles from Lethal. I think that these are fine. They're just not great. And I'd rather give them to somebody else who thinks these are great. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let them go. This is from Cleona Cosmetics. This is their Paleo palette. And I won't sit here and lie and say that I've reached for this or truly thought about this palette in some years, but there's just something about this palette that makes me want to keep it. So I'm gonna keep it. Then we have 2 from Melt Cosmetics. This is their Gemini palette. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. And then, or that's the Gemini 2, I'm sorry. And then this is the Gemini 1. I think these are really pretty palettes. And for Melt, they're some of their best quality that I have. So I am going to keep both of those. Okay, keeping it going with this declutter mentality, 2 that I'm going to keep, another brand that I just like to hold on to the products, at least for right now, is the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nocturnal Palette. Definitely keeping. And another one that I'm keeping is their Glamorous palette. This is definitely not my color scheme, at least not right now, but I do like the quality, so I am going to keep it. Another fantastic quality product is from Shroud. This is their Creepy Cute. Really love this, definitely keeping. This is not a favorite of mine, specifically the mattes. I just really, me and Glam Light, or Give Me Glow's match, just, we don't get along. I haven't found a palette for me. I think I'm gonna let this go. I think I'm gonna let it go. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And honestly, looking at these, I don't see one that I think I'm gonna keep. I think I'm gonna get rid of this whole stack, but let's go through it. This is the Menagerie Violet Ink Palette. I have changed around the color scheme, so none of mine actually look like they originally do, but yeah. So this is their, wow, this is their Whale Song palette. This is their Pharaoh palette, which I clearly got a lot of use out of that. I know this was originally in the Violet Ink palette, that color. And then their, oh my goodness, and then their Dragon Child palette. I don't know. I just don't want to keep them. Let's leave it at that. I believe this is their My Last Blush Tribe palette, and this is the Hasina 2. I've loved this color scheme. Mainly this combination right here, I think is just beautiful, but I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. And this one is actually from DJ Unique's Boutique. This is the Reasons palette. She came out with this palette a couple of Christmas ago and really has not put out a lot of makeup. And although I think the quality here is really actually quite good, I'm just gonna let this go. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. So this is the Nearly Nude from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. This is one of my favorite from the brand. Absolutely keeping this. This isn't one that I get a lot of use out of, but I like it nonetheless. So I am going to keep this. This is the Dragon Child collaboration with Emily Violet Marie and Cleona Cosmetics. A favorite palette from Lunar Beauty is this Strawberry Moon. I actually really got quite a bit of use out of this, and I have good feels for it, so I'm going to keep it. And then we're down to 4. So this is the Zulu's palette from Juvia's Place. I haven't reached for this in easily 3 years, so this is quite old. I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye. Great quality and all that. It's just super old. Same with the Saharan 2 palette. Super old. So this has just got to be thrown away. And then, you know, this is another one really old. Once again, this is the Festivals palette from Juvia's Place. Got to be thrown away. Then when it comes to this is the Lunar Beauty Nude palette. I look at this and I want to love this palette, right? I really do. But I found that almost this whole top row did not work for me. I think I'm going to keep it for 1 more year. I really want to make this work. Like, I really do. So we're going to keep this for 1 more year and see if I can make it work. Once again, this is the Nude Prism palette. Okay, let's go with this next batch. This is from Sugar Drizzle palette. This is the Trick Roar Treat palette. I actually really like this palette. Really small, condensed, but I liked the mattes. I liked the shimmers. I'm going to keep it. Another one I'm easily going to keep is this Shroud Baddie Bean palette. I really like this one as well, so definitely keep it. One that I got, I do believe last year for my birthday, is this one from Lorac. This is the Soleil palette. Fantastic quality. So great quality. Absolutely so happy I picked this up. And yeah, I have a feel that I want to kind of reach in for this again. So hopefully I am able to do that soon. Another one of what I consider Melt's best quality palettes is this one. This is the Mariposa palette. Beautiful palette here. Definitely keeping. 3 palettes left. I definitely enjoy my Blend Bunny formulation. This is their All Done Up palette. I like how curated this is for the brand. I love the colors and the undertones. Keeping this, of course. Then we have the Glam Light palette, and although I don't look at this and really consider this a pastel palette, I do like the quality of all of the products here, so I am going to keep it. And I'm warming up to the brand, so I'm going to keep this for now. And the last palette currently on my desk is from Unearthly Cosmetics. As you can see, it's an older version of it because they still have Alien in there. And this is their Strawberry Milk palette. I don't particularly like the shimmers in this, although I love the color scheme, but there's no reason for me to keep this just because of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this finally. Alrighty, so keeping it going here, we have a palette from Midas Cosmetics. This one is their Artistry Volume 2 palette. Once again, this brand is no longer in business, and although I think this quality in the palette color scheme here is beautiful, I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of it. Let's see. So this is a brand, I actually don't know if they're still running things, but this is 50/50 makeup, and I liked the quality here. It wasn't great, but it was good. And although I think it was good and I kept it because I said, you know, I could use this for work, use it for this, use it for that, I didn't. I'm not going to. I want to make sure I have a good variety of products for friends because I am going to be giving these things to friends and of course donating. So I'm going to get rid of that. One of the more colorful palettes I think I am going to go ahead and keep is this Colored Rain Colored Pigment palette. I actually really like the quality here. It's great. I have used this recently, so I'm going to keep it. The Cinderella palette from Sigma, okay, all right, we didn't need that, is really great quality here. I really like this. I'm definitely keeping this. This is a very old throwback. This is the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie collaboration. And although it's super old, no longer available, I still like this palette. I still think about this palette. I will still reach for this on occasion. So I am going to keep it. And then last in this second storage bin that I keep my palettes in currently is this one. This is the Playing in Makeup by Yolanda pastel Jamrock palette, and although I think that this is good quality, I have other pastel palettes that I prefer, and there's only so many pastel palettes that I truly need. So this is gonna go to hopefully a better and new home. All right, two palettes that came out this year. This is an Odin's Eye collaboration with Angelica Nyquist. This is the Trick or Treat palette. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this for a little bit longer. And then another one that came out in that same collection is the Little Ghost palette. This is my preferred color scheme. I really like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. Glamlight really surprised me this year with this baby. Although it is a huge hunka, I actually really like the quality here, the formulation, all of that. So I am gonna go ahead and keep it for now. Another palette that I really want to go ahead and keep is this one. This is the Blend Bunny Surge palette. This was given to me by a friend. I really don't like this bottom row, but everything else is great, so I am going to keep it. Two palettes from ColourPop that have just been hanging on really is this one. This is the Mandalorian palette, and this one, wait, no, this is the Child palette. I'm sorry, the Child palette, and then the Mandalorian palette. I like both of these. These are more on a like collection type situation, so that's why they're still here. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have them. Another palette from Lunar Beauty that I really like is this Moonspell palette. This is fantastic quality. I really wish that they would get back to kind of this type of color schemes, but until then, I will continue to keep this palette. And then we have the Dominique Cosmetics Latte 2 palette. I actually really like this palette as well. I definitely use this 6 as like a neutral quad, and then I will splash in these, and sometimes really like this palette quality and all of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. Another ColourPop, and I believe this is the last one that I have, is this Blue Moon palette. This is the palette that I think about every time I see a full blue color story. I just know that I already have this. This is nice and affordable. It actually really works on my skin tone. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to keep this. One that's gotta go is this Marvelous Mauves palette. I got quite a bit of use out of it once upon a time, but I haven't thought about it or reached for it in some time, so this is gonna go. This is the Colored Rain Rebellious Nudes palette, and although I wasn't a huge fan of how these colors portrayed based on what I saw in the pan, the quality was great. So I'm definitely gonna go ahead and keep this and really hopefully get some more use out of this coming up very soon. Let's see. We have quite a few miniature palettes. This is a brand, once again, I'm probably going to keep everything. Laminatrix Silent Night palette. This is a favorite of mine when they came out with it, so definitely keeping. The Soft Glam 2, I'm not a huge fan of it, especially because I prefer their newer formula, so I'm going to get rid of this. This is the Chocolates by Juvia's Place. I actually really like this palette, although I don't really comprehend why they have these. These are such a subtle difference, it doesn't make sense, but I am going to keep this. This is another really good palette to reach for if I want a straight up kind of neutral eye look. This is super old. This has just got to be thrown away, really. So this is the Patrick Star MAC collaboration. This one is in Goal Getter. I was really happy to get this, and then I kind of just pushed it to the side. But yeah, I just don't need it, so we gotta get rid of that. This is the Too Faced Hot Chocolate palette. This is such a cute little palette. I really like this. I think I got this last holiday, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. Huda Beauty Naughty palette. Not my favorite from the brand, but I love the quality and I think it's still great, so I will continue to keep it. This shade is just so unnecessary. I don't have words. So yeah, there's that. And then we have these two, once again from Melt Cosmetics. So this one is the Smoke Sessions palette. I may have still have these rearranged. I don't prefer the quality in these. I'm gonna just let these go. So this is the Smoke Sessions, and this is my 420. So yeah, these are just both gonna go. I'm just throwing them both away. They're really not good quality. Okay, we're at the tail end of all of these palettes, so still just bear with me. Another palette that has just got to go because of age is my Juvia's Place Tribe palette. This is super old. It's just got to be thrown away. This is the collaboration between Mel Thompson and Sydney Grace. Absolutely love this palette. Still keeping it. Great quality, great everything when it comes to that palette. This is the formula that I was referring to when I said I prefer ABH's new formula. So this is the Rose Metal. I love this palette. This palette's so pretty. It works beautifully. And then I also got the Nouveau as well. These are both really good quality. I'm keeping both of these. And these, like I said, are my preferred formula when it comes to the brand now. This is also another really good quality from Too Faced. This is the Chocolate Gold palette, and you're able to get your basic kind of crease colors and then throw whatever you want on the lid. This is definitely something that I should probably take more advantage of now that this is kind of my aesthetic. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. This is getting there in age, but I still enjoy the concept of that palette, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. This is my favorite Huda Beauty palette. This is the new Nude. I've gotten so much use out of this. I've used it to do other people's makeup. I just have really good history and memories with this one. Definitely keeping. This is one that I picked up just because I was able to get it on heavily discounted. This is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. It's good, not great. I'm keeping it though. Natasha Denona Love palette. I really like this palette. I like all of my Natasha Denonas. That's why I picked them up. And so yeah, I'm keeping this one. And then this is my Unearthly Lore palette. I definitely think that the quality is great here and I really do like it. I just hate the huge pans. Like I can't get past how big these pans are. They're just way too unnecessary for me, but they could be perfect for somebody who only wants a palette or two in their collection. So am I gonna keep this? Maybe I'll keep this because this will be the only Unearthly palette. I'll keep this. I'll keep this for a little bit longer, but I hate the big pans. I really do. Okay, so in this last bunch, there's not going to be a lot that's decluttered, but let's just dive on in, shall we? Once again, Nabla Dreamy 2. Although it works better, I'm good on Nabla. I'm good. So this is gonna be decluttered to somebody else. This is an old G favorite. This is my Lime Crime Venus XL palette. Definitely keeping this. And you know what? I think I might keep this. I might keep the Dreamy 2. I'm going to keep the Dreamy 2 and I'm keeping the Lime Crime XL. Okay, so I think everything else now is Natasha Denona. I have quite the collection when it comes to her brand. So let's just run through these, and these are all keeps in my opinion. So this is the Metropolis palette. Really pretty palette. I picked it up when they re-released it. It's great. I really like the size of the pans and the quantity of colors that you get. The gold palette, once again, I really like the color of the shades and the quantity of shades. It's really pretty. Definitely preferred some of her new formulas though, but I still like it nonetheless. This is the blue purple palette. Once again, an older formulation, but still great in its own right. Then we have the Glam Face palette, really great for travel, for everyday, whatever it is that you need it for. I really like this one. We have the Zendo palette, which I actually do like this color scheme quite a bit. It's kind of a muted neutral, really nice. Then we have the Circle Loco palette, which I did not expect to get so much use out of, but I have, and I really do like it. I also have the Sunrise palette. Once again, good. Certain shades are a little bit powdery, but still good quality nonetheless. The Bronze palette, I was so happy to get this palette for $5. So happy. Really like this palette. Great palette in my opinion. And the camera always seems to wash it out compared to what it actually looks like in person. I never know why that is, but yeah, good quality palette. Then we have the pastel palette. Not the best if we're being honest with somebody of my skin tone, but it's one that I can make work. And because it's Natasha Denona and I can pop the shades in and out, I am going to continue to keep it. But eventually that will probably be one of the first that gets the boot. Safari I got from a third party. I really like this color scheme, so that's why I went for it. And I'm happy to have it. The Lila palette I got when it went on insane sale. Really good quality. I don't use it a lot, but once again, I keep a lot of hers because you can really make your own preferred color scheme with her shades. Then you have the Sunset palette. Once again, an older formulation. I hate this yellow, but otherwise really good quality. And the red isn't really that good either, in my opinion. Then you have the Tropic palette. Really good neutrals here. Some of these shimmers are terrible, but the neutrals are really great. So I like to use those. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Triochrome, which is a really good palette. And I do get quite a bit of use out of it, especially when I do my recreations of certain looks with her shades. So yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and count up all of the palettes that I'm decluttering, and we will wrap this video up. Okay, I'm getting rid of 36 palettes and I feel really good about the palettes that I'm getting rid of. Could I have kept a couple? Yes, I could have, but I'm really happy about this. And I actually just looked over it and I didn't showcase all of my palettes. So let me get some that are just kind of in an easy access section. Hold on. So these are all palettes that I'm keeping. This is a duo that I made from Inglot that has a yellow and a black. These are two just shades that I like to reach for very often. This is the Cold Brew Quad from Caladios, definitely keeping. This is the really miniature palette from Natasha Denona, the Biba, keeping. This is the Rowan 1111 quad, keeping. And lastly, we have the Forbidden Pink quad from Tom Ford. I literally just referenced all of those palettes very recently, so that's why they were not in a spot that I thought to pull from. And of course, there are other palettes waiting to be reviewed, and once they have been, I will showcase them in a collection video probably at the end of next year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.